What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to show you guys the Zodiac deck that I've been playing to get to Plat 1, and also been playing inside of Plat 1, and been having a lot of fun with, honestly. Zodiac has been one of my favorite decks for a long time since this deck came out, when Master Duel came out, I was hesitant for a while because I knew that Drident was probably going to get banned again, but what really pushed it over the edge is I remembered that Utopic Draco Future is in Master Duel, and in the TCG, we never got the opportunity to play with this card, so I really wanted to give it a shot, and honestly, I had a ton of fun with it. Pretty fairly easy climb with this deck. It's very versatile if you play your cards right. Has great ways to clear boards, has a great way to answer threats, and there's a lot of great budget cards in this game that are on showcase here, specifically in this deck. Starting off with our main lineup of hand traps, all I played is 1 Maxi, and then 3 Ash Blossom to counter my opponent's Maxi or other powerful draw cards. And the one nice thing about Zodiac is that this deck actually does not lose that hard to Max C. If you know anything about the Zodiac cards, you know that these are all 1-card Xyz monsters. So if your opponent Max C's you on your normal summon, which is one of the only real places they can on your turn 1 play, you can just go directly into a Drident and pass your turn. The only place where they can potentially get a +1 is if you do specific plays where you're able to go into Chakanine on the first turn, and then they Maxi on the Chakanine. But in that case, hopefully you have a Maxi to deny the +1 off of it. But moving on into our main Zoom line, we play 10 Zodiac monsters, 3 copies of Zodiac Whiptail, 3 copies of Zodiac Thoroughblade, and 3 copies of Zodiac Ramram, and lastly 1 copy of Zodiac Cataroost. Whiptail is a great card. It can quick play, attach itself to any Zodiac on your field, and while it's equipped to a Zodiac monster, it has a very powerful removal effect that if the card battles, after damage calculation, banish that opponent's monster. This is a very good way to get cards out of rotation for your opponent, like things that they might want in the grave, defense position, Golden Lords, or even Eldritch Traps can potentially get banished off of this effect, and it's very powerful to deny resources in that way. Moving on, the Thoroughblade, this is the best one in the deck. Just the fact that you get to cycle a Zodiac name into the graveyard combos very well with Zodiac Ramram into getting additional resources. A lot of the time, this can feel a little bit greedy to activate its effect, especially if you only have 2 Zodiac names in hand, because you're kind of denying yourself your follow-up on the next turn. But it is a very powerful card to cycle through your deck, and there's really cool plays that you can do with Ramram that are nice on the first turn that get you into Draco Future. And then moving on to Ramram, this guy is very good for floating recursion in the deck. When it's destroyed, you get to special summon back another Zodiac from the grave. So there's plays that you can do where you can end on like Draco Future with a Ramram on the field to ensure that you have a play for the next turn, because they have to find some alternate mean to remove this from the field, otherwise it floats back into something else. And then Cataroost, this is the Flex 10th Zodiac monster. I'm playing Cataroost because it's nice in the mirror match, but honestly, there's a lot more relevant cards that I think a card like Bunny Blast could potentially be used against. But this really could be either one of these. Cataroost protects your monsters from targeting monster effects, and Bunny Blast protects your monsters from targeting spell effects. And then Ramram's the one that protects from targeting trap effects. But you're always playing Ramram. So it's either up to you on these ones. Honestly, probably should be Bunny Blast. This one has a fatter defense, which is sometimes relevant. But other than that, it's just the last name. And then moving on to the last monsters in the deck, we have 3 copies of Godarla the Mystery Dust Kaiju. This card is really fantastic, honestly. It really does out a lot of the problem things that you see in the ladder, especially right now. There's a lot of people recommending people play Striker and Eldritch, so the ladder is just absolutely filled with Striker and Eldritch players. This card is really good against Striker specifically because it prevents the Ray from coming back into circulation. And then it turns off all of their Striker spells and traps for the turn. And then this card is also very good against Drytron. If your opponent, you get to Kaiju your opponent's Herald, and then you can kind of just summon a Zodiac monster, go into Borbo, attack directly, and then climb up into Zeus to wipe their board. To kind of play around the orange lights in hand, so you don't have to use any monster effects to clear whatever else they have on their board. Might not be the best play, but at least the Kaiju deals with the big problem card, which is the Herald of Ultimateness or Perfection, whichever one they end on. And then against VW, if they're trying to play around cards like Impermanence or Chalice, and they're holding on to the True King of All Calamities effect to be able to turn off your turn, basically, you can punish them for that by Kaijuing them right away. In the Prank Kids deck, if they don't tag out their Bow Wow right away, you can Kaiju it right away. And this just deals with random boss monsters and threats. Like you can Kaiju an Ensemble Robin in the Bird deck, which is also really good. There's just a lot of really good things that benefit from having a non-targeting, non-destruction based removal that doesn't really care about what your opponent has. Oh, this is also randomly good against Crooked Cook if you run into like Crooked Cook Exodia on the ladder. Moving on to the spells, we have one Monster Reborn, one Raigeki. These cards are fun. I like playing them. Monster Reborn is good. In previous TCG versions of Zodiac, I've also played the card. Is it Monster Reborn? No, what is it called? Living Fossil. Zodiac in particular can struggle if you have your main extender cleared and you don't have a way to get into more of them. Some people opt to play cards like Pot of Avarice to shuffle their Zodiac cards back. I like the Reborn spells a little bit better because they're guaranteed ways into your cards again, which means that you can actually play the game if your first play is stopped or popped or something along those lines. Avarice is really good for recursion. I don't currently have Avarice on this account because I didn't buy any of the structure decks. Although in my build I probably wouldn't have played it regardless. I never really felt the need to recycle my materials. You just kind of play it slow if you need to, and then yeah. And then with Raigeki, it's just a nice board wipe to have. Pairs well with Chalice. You can negate their one negate and Raigeki, which is pretty nice. And then onto our consistency card, we have 3 Pot of Desires. You don't really care that much about which Zodiac monster you see, so banishing a few of them really isn't that bad. The likelihood that you banish all of them is extremely low. And this deck has a hard time regenerating its own advantage, since some of the key cards are banned, like Rapier, Barrage, Zodiac, Broad Bull. All those cards are banned, so we need a really powerful draw spell in order to keep us in the game in certain instances. Next we have Lightning Storm. This card is just Lightning Storm. Like it dusters any back row or wipes any board. It's got great flexibility. Personally, I think maybe this could be a Feather Duster instead if you have it, but if you have Lightning Storm, this card works really well as well. Great going second option. Next, we have 3 more consistency cards. Fire Formation Tanky. Searches any Zodiac monster in your deck. Really good card. Moving on, we play a decent amount of spell trap removal, I think, between the 5 of these. We have a good chance to see it off Pot of Desires. Mystical Space Typhoon. This is the free-to-play version, or like the free-to-play card, which is why I was playing it. Honestly, it probably should be a Cosmic Cyclone. This card has a lot more utility across more matchups like Eldritch. But having the quick play pop is also very strong, which is why I like this card. Sometimes you just need the one targeted pop for whatever your opponent does. Trades nicely with Magical Meltdowns, things like that. So if you don't have Cosmic Cyclones, you can play this card as well. Next, and then Twin Twister is also very nice for mass back row removal against decks like Eldritch. Skill Drain really does just kill this deck. You cannot play the game under Skill Drain, so you have to main deck some kind of spell trap removal in order to deal with that card. And then for the last spell in the deck, we have 3 Forbidden Chalice. This card's really good. I was genuinely shocked when I saw that it was a rare in this game. But this is very powerful as a quick play spell. You can use it into your boards. You can use it against anything. It's reactive. You can use it going second. You can use it going first. Honestly, Chalice is probably one of my favorite cards in the game. A little bit outclassed by Forbidden Droplet. Honestly, that card is just better in most scenarios. However, it is nice that it is a free-to-play card, because Forbidden Droplets is an ultra rare, and I don't really think it's entirely necessary. Forbidden Droplets does pair well with Tanky, so if you do have this card and you pulled it, I would also probably recommend playing this over some of the Chalices potentially. But Chalice is a very good card for how cheap it is to get. Moving on to the traps, we have 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. Also, just another fantastic card in the deck. If you have Torrential Tribute, you really don't have to commit to the board. It's kind of shocking how poorly people on the ladder can play around this card. People will just genuinely overcommit into this because a lot of people don't have their combo lines nailed out. in Platinum especially right now. So they'll play into Torrential really hard, and then if you have Torrential plus one other interruption, it can often be enough to just end their turn completely, and then you can kind of just reestablish and stabilize with your Zoodiac play on the next turn. And then aside from that, 3 of each Solemn. These cards are kind of expensive, but they're really good. Judgment, probably a little less good. Strike, very good. Strike Torrential outs basically any board in the game, except boards that have like inherent target or destruction protection. But they're very nice because you get to Torrential and then chain Strike to whatever might negate the Torrential tribute, and it kind of just ends the chain there unless they have the Judgment for it. Forbidden Judgment or Solemn Judgment is a really nice card to have as well, just because you negate summons, which is important in this deck because you get your Zoodiac monsters threatened. Like if you make a first turn Drident and that's the only really thing that you have, backing up the Drident with a Judgment is really good because you get to basically remove their normal summon from the equation in most cases, because a lot of times the way to play around the Drident is to kind of pressure it out with a non-impactful card through battle phase. And then Judgment's also really well because there's like Lightning Storm and Duster all over the ladder, mostly because people got Lightning Storm for free. I've been Lightning Stormed several times for my entire lunch money, and it's not fun. It's not a good experience, so Judgment's good in that regard. And then these cards are actually really cool because they all come from the same set. They all come from this Guardians of the Sacred Skies pack. So I crafted one strike, but I pulled all of my Judgments and strikes. And then Solemn Warning also comes from that pack as well. And then this is also a very good more budget trap because it's in the SR slot that negates summons or spell traps that would summon a monster. And is also a less life point cost than Judgment. So that's it for the monsters in the deck. The extra deck is pretty standard. We'll run through it very quickly. Utopic Future to make the Utopic Draco. Tiger Mortar, we're playing 3 of them. Drident, we're playing 1. Borbo playing 2. Hammer Kong 2. Chakanine 3. 1 Drill Driver Vespinato. This card is not optional. You have to play this card. There are games that you can close out for free with this card. That you wouldn't be able to otherwise. The 2500 damage breakpoint is very important because you need to be able to, if you were to attack with a Thoroughblade on the first turn of the game with a Borbo, or if you're going second, you attack with a Thoroughblade or a Thoroughblade under a Borbo to do 1600 damage, and then you make a Zeus, and the Zeus sticks. You can actually make Zeus, and then if you have another Zoo monster, you make Chakanine detached to summon back the Thoroughblade, and then you summon the Vespinato on top of the Chakanine, and then that's lethal from there because the Vespinato plus the Thoroughblade is 4100 plus the Zeus is 71, which is enough damage with the remainder. So it's not even just Thoroughblade. If you opened Whiptail or you did Whiptail damage or Thoroughblade damage on your first turn of the game, it makes a turn 4 victory really easily. It also turns just your small Zoodiac monsters into 2500 attacker that floats when it's destroyed by battle and pierces, which is relevant against like random stuff like Crooked Cook. So overall, really nice card. And then one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. I was a little hesitant to play Zodiac, honestly, with only 1 copy of this card, just because it's so good in this deck. Making a Zeus for 6 is nigh unbeatable if they didn't open like a Chalice or an Imperm or like Droplets right out the gate. A lot of decks will kind of just lose because they won't be able to plow through 3 board wipes against you, and then the 3k body sticks. So yeah, that's basically it for the deck profile. Now jumping into a duel, we'll see what this deck looks like kind of in action. My opponent won the coin flip, so I'm going second. Which is pretty okay with me. A lot of the times you're able to break boards and push through what they have and stabilize and establish with like your Zodiac cards. Oh, my opponent actually forced me to go first. Okay. So we'll just Desires off the rip here, see if he has the Ash Blossom for anything. He doesn't. Oh, perfect. So in this situation, I would actually just not commit the Zodiac monster to the board. We have the Judgment for the Lightning Storm, which is really good. So we can kind of play greedy and overcommit our resources here. He's going second, so he's probably playing some kind of OTK deck, or he wants to break my board and go in. So I think the chances that he's playing like Lightning Storms, Kaijus, etc. is probably decently high. So committing anything outside of just a few back rows seems kind of hazardous. I think we're just gonna set 4 here. No particular reason for the column placements. But yeah, we'll see what they have. Hopefully they don't open the Duster or the Lightning Storm and we get to keep this Solemn Judgment. Our life points will get very low very fast otherwise, which is a precarious situation to be in. If my opponent's really playing a going second deck, I anticipate we'll probably use all of these except for maybe the MST during their turn, which means if we need to go back with the Zeus, and then here's the Cyber Dragon. Okay, so they're playing Cyber Dragons. Nashor's effect. Discard is normal or special. Target 1. So he discarded the Cyber Dragon, so he's going to get to special both. This is fine. In your graveyard, special summon it. Special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. Except machine monsters. That's fine. So, we're going to kind of just wait it out and be greedy with this Torrential Tribute. The only time we can't really do that is if he were to... No, because he can't go into Nightmare Phoenix. So he has to make a bigger board here and try to push for game. So he's going to go for Core. Core is fine, I think. Core is going to fetch him an Emergency. Or any other card. Cyberload Fusion. Okay. Oh, and then he's just gonna go for Cyberload Fusion. So he's gonna Cyberload for a Rampage. We can strike the Rampage. Any of these trigger when they're sent to grave. Machine, you cannot special monster for the rest of the turn. You can only use each effect. Their opponent banish this card. Nope, we're just gonna let this resolve. And we're gonna strike the effect of Chimera Tech on summon. Or if it's not Chimera Tech, we'll just Torrential Tribute it. And it kind of resolves our issue for us. Rampage Dragon. Rampage Dragon is going to have the ability to pop up to the cards onto the field up to the number of cards used for fusion material. And his graveyard is completely empty now because he cyberloaded. And now the only card that can attack is this card, but it's about to be striked. So we just Solemn Strike here. And this basically completely removes his game shot capabilities on this turn. Rampage doesn't float, right? Nope. Yeah, I feel like my opponent kind of was greedy there. Overcommitted to this Rampage play to pop my back row, pretending like it wasn't something real. His play loses to Imperm, Chalice, Strike, Forbidden Droplet. It loses to all sorts of things. Yeah, now they're just going to pass turn because of it. So, unfortunately, we're still going to have to slow roll here. We're in a weird spot because we have the TT still set. We might end up just clearing our own TT after we Zeus. We have the Judgment to stop any effect. We have the Zeus to clear board. We want a Judgment like a normal summon. Or something that'll pressure the Zeus. Is that good enough? The problem here is we don't have a Zoodiac monster as follow-up, which is a little unfortunate. But these cards... The Torrential is just less impactful than the Zeus. I could very simply just go into a Drident and pass. And then on the following turn, I'm sure I'll have used the Drident effect. This is the issue with Zodiac right now, is that there's no way to detach materials. Because otherwise I would just detach the Ram, special it back. Have no fear of TTing my own board because I'd be able to float. But it's kind of a precarious situation. I think we're just going to commit to the Zeus play. The only issue with the Zeus play is that it does hard lose to Nibiru. And I don't believe this can negate Nibiru. Cannot. Whatever. Let's just go for it. So basically here we're just going to commit our entire extra deck now that we've attacked with a Xyz monster into summoning Zeus. So we'll see here now if his board lights up, if he has the Zeus or not. Or if he has the Nibiru or not. No, he does not have the Nibiru. So we can just kind of, now we can fully commit our Drident into this play. Because before I probably would have just stopped here if his board lit up on the 5th summon. But since it didn't, we can just kind of move into Zeus without fear of losing our best cards in extra deck. And then we just pass it over. He's got another Nashter. It's fine. Veer. So this Nashter's not going to summon anything from grave. Oh, I guess it can summon this. Does this get effect on summon? When this card is fusion summon? Nope. So we're still just kind of chilling. The key thing to wait for is to wait for them to actually create things that pressure you or feel like they can pressure you. Right now, he's locked into machines because of his Nashter effect. So there's not really things that he can go into that are threatening to us. Oh, he can make Mega Fleet, right? Because Zeus is a machine. I forgot about that interaction with this deck. That's a bit unfortunate. We're not going to Judgment this, but we are going to just Torrential Tribute this summon. They have something chainable there. Not sure what. Maybe another Cyberload? They do have the names for another Cyberload fusion. Oh, I guess not. Yeah, that was really, really silly of me, honestly. Should have kept that interaction in mind. Well, we're just chilling. This is kind of a lot of what this deck is just sitting back and waiting for your opponent to play, and it allows you to be very responsive. So Nashter, special summon this card. If this card is normal or special, you can target one engrave and special summon it. That's fine. He's committed his normal summon to this, which means he doesn't have another play. Or he doesn't have another Cyber Dragon in hands, which means I think we can pretty safely Torrential here again. We're in a very low life point situation, so if that if this Chimera Tech sticks, it gets to fill his grave. And then we just get to MST his back row for free at end phase. If this is an overflow, he gets to search for another card, just an impermanence. Cool. And this is another problem with this deck. So we're basically sitting in a spot where this Desire's banished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are very unlucky Desires. 7. So there's 3 Zodiac monsters left in our deck. 3 copies of Tenki. There's 6. 22 cards left in deck. Every draw we're going to have a 1 in 4 chance basically of pulling what we need. Which isn't great. So we're just going to chill. We're just going to chill. Might just lose this duel because we didn't see any more Zodiac cards. A little bit unfortunate. And because we played greedy with the double A Zeus without remembering. Zodiac Ram. Cool. So now we can normal Ram. We will go into Hammer Kong. So I think we're gonna go Hammer Kong Drident. We're gonna Drident pop. Okay, yeah, we're gonna overlay into Hammer Kong. We're gonna activate or go into Chakanai next. And then we're going to activate this Chalkanine's effect to bring back this ram. Oh, we already used the drident this game. That's not great. We should have Chalk brought back the Drident, Tiger Mortar reattached to it, then make the B. This is a lot less good. We're still in an okay position, just because we have the Judgment, but this was definitely a misplay. 2 misplays on 1 game. Footage is probably getting scrapped. Yeah, having the Dryden pop here would be very good. Because he gets to summon back the Rampage. Vespanado is also a machine. See if he summons a second Mega Fleet on us. Pretty low likelihood I think he plays a second copy of Mega Fleet, or a Fortress. Tribute summon for Cyber Dragon. Huh. Is he gonna make Nova into Infinity here? Yeah, he is. This card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card effects. We can't negate the Nova, otherwise he gets to summon something from extra deck for free. We have to wait for the Infinity. Because with the Judgment, this will be considered sent from their possession. Because possession includes fields, extra deck, everywhere. Yeah, being sent to graveyard. So even if this card wasn't on the field, in typical cases, if this had control and we were to Judgment this, he didn't technically control the monster yet because the summon wasn't successful. However, in this case, because it says possession in this card text, we would just kind of lose. But that's okay, because it looks like he's just going to commit to the Infinity play. Or is he just going to banish the... He might just banish this to attack over the Vespanado before going into the Infinity. Yep. That's what he's doing. Still seems greedy to me. He normal summoned the Cyber Dragon we saw him search. And this is just going to float into another name. Oh. Okay, I need to do some math real quick. So 8400 minus 2500 is not lethal. It's only 5900 damage. And then he has to link this off, or he has to go into Infinity here, otherwise he just loses this card. He has no follow-up engrave. And we can just Judgment the Infinity. This is one of the reasons why Judgment's also really nice as well. You can get to these super low life point situations, and you still just have a very powerful trap life. Our opponent's in a really bad position here now. We still have good card advantage. We drew an Ash. This MST's not doing anything. But we can now just do this. We can go straight into the Chakanine. No, I don't want to select more material. And we can activate the effect of Chakanine. Detaching. To resummon our Drident from grave. And then we can activate Tiger Mortar. To reattach a Ram to it. And now here we can use our second Ram to overlay into a Borbo. So that we can summon our Utopic Future and go into Draco. Now, I think this game should be pretty locked up. I'm not exactly sure what he can top deck here. Maybe a... Exactly Cyberload doesn't get him out of this situation because we have the Drident pop. So if he does play the second Cyberload, or he does play the Overflow, then we can still win the game. And whatever monster he summons, we can, if he activates its effect, we can take it. So we're in a very good spot. We're in a very good spot with one card left in our extra deck, but this card is banished. I'm just gonna take this because it's his only monster. He has nothing in grave that's chainable or can be used. So it's kind of the main game plan of the deck. You want to like drain your opponent's resources while trying to be as conservative as you can with yours. We did get hard punished a couple times, but we managed to pull through thanks to our good back row cards. That's one of the strengths of Zodiacs. Like one card gets you into a play, and then you have your back row to follow it up, and then hopefully your cards stick. Torrential can be a little bit awkward in your deck because there's oftentimes boards that you don't want to break yourself. But if you establish Draco Future Ram, flipping Torrential on your opponent is 100% fine. Because you basically get to res back a card for free, and the Draco won't die due to its own protection card effect. And that's it for the coverage that I had for this Zodiac deck. As you can see, it does what it's supposed to do. It's less powerful than a lot of the other meta decks, but it plays a lot of cards that you can use to out the other bigger cards, and stick other things onto your board to hopefully prevent your opponent from pushing through onto you. And really, you just want to take advantageous trades whenever you can. And then follow it up with back row. I also really like this deck because it's pretty cheap. If we strip the deck down to its bare bones essentials, the only cards we really have that I would say are mandatory are these cards right here. So the cards in the extra deck I think are very mandatory. As you saw, the Draco Future does come up. A lot of the time it won't, but when you need it, you will need it to win the game. So honestly, whatever cards you have to play around these core 10 or 16 main deck slots, which are all SRs. If you don't like Pot of Desires in this deck, you can also not play this card. I really like it, and I'd consider it mandatory. Maybe if you wanted to, you could bump this down to 2 and play like an Avarice, Pot of Avarice. Instead, if you don't feel comfortable with playing 3 copies of Pot of Desires. But other than that, yeah, there's tons of great cheap options in the game. As you saw, I personally like main decking the Godarla. In the deck, the duel that we just did, it didn't come up, it wasn't too relevant. But it does come up against certain matchups because it is ranked ladder. It's the nature of best of ones. You're just going to run into random stuff. But there's great cards in this game. There's Book of Moon, which I honestly was personally playing in my TCG list for a long time. Forbidden Chalice, which I was also playing in my TCG list for a long time. You have Forbidden Chalice, you have Torrential Tributes, Mystical Space Typhoon for back row removal. And really, there's a ton of other really good spell traps in the game. Other stuff, DeFi is also really good for this. Raigeki, Monster Reborn are free from the game. There's just tons of really good cards that you can play here that are pretty fun, that you can make this deck a little more budget if you just want to try it out and you don't want to fully commit to something like... Oh, I guess it's not really a lot to fully commit to, I should say, because there's only really 3 main deck SRs, the Draco Future, the Zeus, the 2 extra deck SRs. You need tankies, but you need tanky for a lot of decks, so like this card is probably going to see play across the board. With these tankies, you can pivot into something like Tri-Brigade Zodiac, or you even play tanky in the Lyrilusk version of Tri-Brigade as well. Pot of Desires is a staple card that you're always going to want to have access to, so crafting 3 to play this deck doesn't feel bad because you'll get use for it across the board. So overall, I think this deck is very flexible. It can be very budget oriented. There are cards that are obviously better that are in the UR slot that I personally would play because I own them. But other than that, let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Let me know what other decks you guys have been playing in Master Duel. If I show off some of my decks I've been testing out, it's been a ton of fun, honestly. Like, I'm actually shocked how easy it has been to build decks in this game. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.